Hey guys, Daniel here of Pinay Techno Guide, and this is my gaming review of the Huawei Nova 5T. It's powered by the Kirin 980 chipset with 8GB of RAM, and it also has Huawei's GPU Turbo technology. Let's test its gaming performance by measuring the average frame rate while playing popular games. Let's start with Mobile Legends. I turned on high frame rate mode or HFR, set the graphics quality to high, turned on shadows, and used character frames.
Our turret is under attack. Your team destroyed a turret. You have slain an enemy. An enemy has been slain.
This test was supposed to last at least 15 minutes, but the ranked game was already finished after a little more than 12 minutes. The resulting average frame rate is a perfect 60 frames per second. Here's a graph of the frame rate during the game. Next, we have NBA 2K19. I know there's already NBA 2020, but I wanted to compare the performance of the Nova 5T with the Huawei P30 Pro. Once again, I set all the graphic settings to the highest options except for depth of field, which I turned off because I don't really like it.
Here's Curry. Outside Durant. Green. Back to Durant. Pass to Cousins. First personal foul. Teams first.
After 15 minutes of playing the game, GameBench measured the average frame rate as 60 frames per second. That's exactly the same as the Huawei P30 Pro. For this test, GameBench also estimated that the phone will last 8.5 hours. I've been using Rules of Survival for my recent tests instead of PUBG Mobile because PUBG limits the maximum frame rate based on the chipset of the device. Hence, there were several times where I think a smartphone can still achieve a higher frame rate, but the game locks it at up to 25 FPS or 30 FPS only. For the Huawei Nova 5T, the average frame rate is a perfect 60 frames per second too. This is with the graphic settings set at the maximum values. However, I noticed that the performance dipped after about 12 minutes into the game. From 60 FPS, it dropped to around 50 FPS, although it did not nudge the average frame rate. The device also felt warm during this, which leads me to speculate that it doesn't have the same thermal controls as the Huawei P30 Pro. Another nitpick that I have for the Huawei Nova 5T is the position of the front camera punch hole. Some games have a button at the lower left corner of the screen, but it's where the camera is located. This doesn't happen with notches, which are usually at the center. Nevertheless, the buttons placed here still work when tapped despite the presence of the camera punch hole. My conclusion. Indeed, the Huawei Nova 5T is a very powerful gaming smartphone with perfect frame rates for all the games that I've tested. It performs like other flagship smartphones that I've also tested, such as the Huawei P30 Pro and Samsung Galaxy S10. However, I have some issues such as the slight warming of the phone and the position of its punch hole for the selfie camera. I will also take a look at other features of the Huawei Nova 5T for the full review, which will be available next week. So subscribe to Pinoy Techno Guide and see you guys in the next video.